The alien woman stepped into his room by chance, and her heart refused to walk away. The corridors of the human starship hummed with low, constant energy. To the alien woman named Lyra, the sound was unnervingly calm. On her world, silence meant danger. Here it was safety. Or so she hoped. She wasn't supposed to be here. The treaty between her people, the Zir, and the humans was fragile, still stained by blood from decades of war. Lyra herself was on the ship as part of a diplomatic escort, confined to designated quarters far from the human crew. Yet tonight, restless and unable to sleep, she wandered. Her bare feet padded softly along cold metal floors as she traced the glowing signs written in human script she barely understood. She turned a corner, looking for a quiet space to breathe, and stopped in front of an open doorway. A room, dimly lit, empty, or so she thought. The human pilot. Inside sat a man at a narrow desk, head bent over scattered charts and flight logs. His dark hair was mussed, uniform jacket thrown carelessly over the back of his chair. When Lyra stepped in, the floor creaked, and he looked up. Their eyes met. Human eyes were strange to her, dull colors compared to the radiant hues of the Zir. But his were steady, deep brown, and startlingly warm. "You're not supposed to be here," he said quietly, though there was no anger in his tone. "I got lost," she admitted, her voice trembling. He raised an eyebrow. "Lost? This is the pilot's quarters. Pretty far from guest housing." She hesitated. She could have turned and left. Should have, perhaps. But something about the quiet kindness in his voice rooted her in place. "I wanted to walk," she murmured. "To think." "Dangerous," he replied, leaning back in his chair. "Not everyone here likes your people." "And you?" she asked softly. He studied her for a long moment. "I don't hate you." The first conversation. Silence stretched between them. Lyra shifted nervously, her four-fingered hands twisting together. Humans frightened her, so direct, so unpredictable. Yet this one, whose name she would soon learn was Kale, didn't feel dangerous. "What are you thinking about?" Kale finally asked, gesturing to the seat across from him. She hesitated. "Then Saturday home," she admitted. "How far it feels. How different this place is." Kale chuckled. "I could say the same about your people. I've never met anyone like you." Lyra's silver eyes flickered downward. "Most humans say that, but not kindly." "I meant it kindly," Kale said simply. For the first time since she boarded the ship, she smiled. Small, uncertain, but real. Nights of quiet. One night became two. Two became many. Each evening, Lyra found herself wandering toward Kale's room, no longer by accident, but by longing. They spoke in hushed voices while the ship slept, about their worlds, their scars, the things they'd lost. Kale told her of Earth's oceans, vast and endless. Lyra told him of the crystal forests of Zera, where trees sang when the wind passed through them. Sometimes they didn't speak at all. Sometimes they simply sat in silence, side by side, letting the hum of the ship fill the void. The question. One night, after weeks of stolen conversations, Lyra asked the question that haunted her. "Why are you kind to me?" Kale looked at her, puzzled. "Why wouldn't I be? My people, we fought yours for centuries. Humans lost families to our armies. I see the way they look at me." "I'm not them," Kale said softly. Lyra swallowed hard. "You look at me differently." "Do I?" "Yes," she whispered. "Like I'm beautiful." "Why?" Kale didn't answer right away. He studied her face, the silver patterns on her cheeks, the faint glow of her skin in the low light. To others, she was alien. To him, she was luminous. "Because you are," he said finally. The first touch. Lyra froze. No one had ever said that to her, not even her own kind. She searched his face for mockery and found none. Only truth. Tentatively, she reached out, her fingers brushing the back of his hand. Warm, solid, real. Kale didn't pull away. Instead, he turned his hand, lacing his fingers with hers. The gesture was simple, but for Lyra, it felt like the universe itself had shifted. The crisis. Their quiet world shattered when the alarm blared. Enemy ships, renegade Zir factions opposed to the treaty, attacked in deep space. The human vessel rocked under heavy fire. "Stay here," Kale ordered, grabbing his flight suit. "No," Lyra protested, rising. "I can help. I know their tactics." Kale hesitated. It was madness. Bringing her to the bridge would ignite suspicion, even hostility. But they had no choice. They needed her knowledge. Side by side, they ran. Battle and trust. On the bridge, officers stiffened at the sight of Lyra. "What is she doing here?" One barked. "She's with me." Cale snapped, taking the pilot seat. "She knows the enemy better than anyone." Against all odds, the crew listened. Guided by Lyra's insight and Cale's skill, they evaded ambushes and outmaneuvered the attackers. At the climax of the battle, Lyra herself transmitted a message to the enemy fleet, invoking ancient Zir codes of honor, to force a retreat. When silence returned, the humans stared at her differently, not with hate, with awe. Aftermath. Hours later, the ship floated in quiet space. Cale found Lyra back in his quarters, sitting where it all began. "You saved us," he said softly. "We saved each other," she replied. For a moment, they simply looked at one another, the weight of unspoken feelings pressing between them. Then Cale stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. Lyra stiffened at first. Zir did not embrace. But slowly, hesitantly, she melted into him. The heart's answer. "Cale," she whispered, trembling. "If I keep coming here, I may never want to leave." "Then don't," he murmured against her hair. "Stay." She pulled back just enough to meet his gaze. "Why me?" "Because," Cale said, cupping her face gently, "I don't see you as alien. I see you as you. And that's enough." Tears filled her silver eyes. For the first time, she believed it. Epilogue. Months later, when the treaty finally solidified and her people were welcomed aboard as allies, stories spread of the human pilot and the alien woman who had fought side by side. But the truth was simpler. She had stepped into his room by chance. Her heart had refused to leave, and neither did his.